So welcome everybody to Zoom Palestine. Our program today is dedicated to the tragic reality of having to celebrate Christmas in a time of genocide in Gaza. Over 20,000 people dead at this point, and many more under the rubble. So we're not even sure what the horrific numbers will be when this is over, if it will ever be over. This 20,000 dead people is not enough to satisfy Israel's bloodlust, unfortunately. So for Christians and Muslims who also celebrate Christmas, at Amman, when I was in Amman, Jordan, I was surprised to see all the Christmas trees and decorations in the malls and all over Amman, because Jesus is a very special person for Muslims as well, Isa. So we celebrate this holiday at a time of great tragedy and great sorrow and suffering that we see daily on the news. Watching Al Jazeera is just heartbreaking. So we're going to start with our theme song. Share our screen and play our wonderful theme song. Here we go. And where is it? Where did it go? Where did my theme song go? Here we go. Okay.
أنا ديني أنا أرض تلاقيني أنا أهلي أنا فيها أنا دمي فرح
Your screen song. My screen sharing is paused. I think they don't like this song. Anyhow, let's move on to looking at some articles in the electronic intifada that I wanted to show you and read with you. So the The articles are somber as we face this terrible holiday season, usually a time for joy and celebration, and we are grieving. So the first article here is Gaza facing a Christmas genocide. So let's have a look at this. Gaza is facing a Christmas genocide. And here's a picture of an Israeli airstrike. Hi, Monica. Welcome back. Good to see you. Here's a picture of an Israeli airstrike that caused a building belonging to the Greek Orthodox Church in Gaza to collapse in 20th October. And the article goes on, Palestine's Christian community is not surprisingly the oldest in the world, dating back to the first century. In Gaza, the community is now tiny with just some 800 to 1,000 Christians remaining. But Gaza churches are some of the oldest in existence anywhere on the planet. Now, these churches are shelters for refugees, and Christians are targets of Israel's genocidal violence. On the 19th of October, the third oldest church in the world, the Church of Boriforos, was hit by an Israeli airstrike, killing 18 people. Ibrahim Jassan survived the strike and continues to shelter there with his family. He told Al Jazeera, "We were baptized here and we will die here." 2 weeks later, the Israeli military bombed the Greek Orthodox Cultural Center in the southern Gaza City neighborhood of Tel al-Hawa. Food blankets, gas cylinders, and other much-needed supplies were destroyed in the blast. The destruction of cultural centers and religious sites features as part of the definition of genocide. The Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem released a statement condemning the attack. Such attacks on civilians, particularly children, and the deliberate destruction of civilian infrastructure cannot be justified on rational or humanitarian grounds and are fundamentally at odds with the most basic moral values. The World Council of Churches joined in condemning the attacks, calling them a clear violation of international law. Gaza's only Christian hospital was bombed. A blast rocked the Gaza City's Al-Hilli Baptist Hospital in October, that's run by the Episcopal Church of Jerusalem. Hundreds died in the explosion, hundreds were injured. Israel denied responsibility for the carnage. Dr. Ghassan Abu Sita described the scene to NBC News. He was in an operating room when the ceiling collapsed on him. He said he made his way to the exit where he witnessed people carrying wounded and walking wounded with blood streaming down, covered in dust. Both the World Health Organization, Doctors Without Borders, condemned the attack. On December 16th, Nahidad Antun and her daughter Samar Antun were shot to death by Israeli snipers as they walked inside the grounds of Holy Family Parish in Gaza. At least 7 other members of Gaza's only Catholic church were wounded by sniper fire. The Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem said one was killed as she tried to carry the other to safety. They were shot in cold blood. The Patriarch posted photos of damage to the church from missile attacks. The damage shows fires and extreme destruction to the convent. The tweet indicates the deaths and injuries of a number of citizens of the Latin convent of Gaza occurred and called for an end to this senseless conflict. So Pope Francis condemned the attacks. Unarmed civilians are being bombed and shot at. And this has happened inside the Holy Family Parish complex where there are no terrorists, but families, children, sick people with disability, nuns. The Pope continued, some say it's terrorism, it's war. Yes, it is war, it is terrorism. This is the second time the Pope has accused Israel of terrorism. On the 22nd of November, the Pontiff said Israel has gone beyond war. This is not war, this is terrorism. Indeed, it is terrorism. It is terrorism against Palestinians, and some of the most vulnerable Palestinians are the minority of Christian population now besieged in the few churches in Gaza. Israel is targeting this small population of Christians, and they're doing it at Christmas. The Israeli military is bombing churches, destroying Christian community centers, and sending snipers to shoot Christian women to death, while the world watches, all part of the 9th stage of genocide, extermination. How many Christians will be left when Israel is done? This is really disturbing. Very, very disturbing. So now we're going to look at another article. We'll go back and have a look at it. Another article. Gaza's churches are under attack at Christmas. Gaza's churches and the areas surrounding them have been under attack since the early stages of Israel's latest war in Gaza. The 1,000 Christians living in Gaza have dreams. They want a better future. The war came suddenly, forcing people to leave their homes. Many went to churches hoping they would provide safety. The fear of Christians has been highlighted as Israeli tanks have been surrounding them. An elderly woman and her daughter taking shelter at Holy Family Church in Gaza City were killed earlier this month by an Israeli sniper. Suhal Saba is among those who have taken shelter in the Holy Family Church. She's a survivor of the massacre Israel carried out at the nearby Church of St. Porphyrius during October. 18 people were killed in that massacre. The bombing was violent like an earthquake. She recalled the walls were broken and I was thrown from one place to another. People were tripping over me and I can hear the screams of women and children. Multiple members of one family were instantly killed when one missile fell on the church, she said. Saba herself was wounded in the head, back, and legs. Ramaz al-Suri lost 3 children during the attack on the Church of St. Porphyrius. Israel's attacks are carried out with weapons supplied by the U.S. I left my home and came to the church because it was supposed to be a safe place. Al-Suri said, my children were sleeping in the building. Suddenly the place was bombed with a missile from a warplane. He added, I cannot believe that I lost my children. I feel like I'm in a nightmare. America and Israel killed my children while they were sleeping in a place of worship. Camille Aya notes that conditions in the churches have been harsh since the beginning of the war. He has taken shelter in the Church of St. Porphyrius before the October attack on the building. It is painful that the church was targeted while they, the Israelis, knew that the displaced people inside were civilians. We had gone to church in search of safety. Christmas will be very different for his family than it was in 2022. Last year, we celebrated the holidays with the family. We decorated the homes and had lights on the Christmas tree. We went to Bethlehem and visited the Church of the Nativity. This year, we are suffering from loss and destruction. There's no joy in anyone's hearts these days, he added. Everyone is crying for those they have lost. Previous years, Christians in Gaza applied for permits from the Israeli occupation so they could visit Bethlehem in the West Bank during the festive season. Nobody's waiting for permits this year, like their Muslim friends and neighbors. Christians in Gaza are under siege. They have very little to eat and drink, and they fear being killed by snipers or by other forms of Israeli violence. This is so heartbreaking. Is beyond heartbreaking. Well, we're going to look at a video that Amy Goodman had an interview with this priest in Bethlehem talking about how
Has been
Bethlehem
canceled in Bethlehem.
you
As
know,
the
it
death,
started there.
this news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. Christmas has been canceled in Bethlehem. As the death toll tops 20,000 in Gaza, we begin today's show in the occupied West Bank. Yes, in the city of Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus Christ. The Christmas season is normally a festive time in Bethlehem, but not this year, as church leaders have canceled public Christmas festivities, citing Israel's devastating attack on Gaza. This is the Reverend Isaac Munther, the Palestinian pastor of a landmark Lutheran church in Bethlehem. He addressed his congregation earlier this month in front of a nativity scene with the figure of Jesus Christ in a keffiyeh surrounded by rubble.
Christmas is a ray of light and hope from the heart of pain and suffering. Christmas is the radiance of life from the heart of destruction and death. In Gaza, God is under the rubble. He's in the operating room. If Christ were to be born today, he would be born under the rubble. I invite you to see the image of Jesus in every child killed and pulled from under the rubble, and every child struggling for life in destroyed hospitals, and every child in incubators. Christmas celebrations are canceled this year, but Christmas itself is not and won't be canceled, for our hope cannot be canceled.
That was the Reverend Isaac Munther, the Palestinian pastor of a landmark Lutheran church in Bethlehem. He spoke in front of a nativity scene with the figure of Christ surrounded by rubble, the baby Jesus. Earlier this week, Pope Francis accused Israel of committing terrorism in Gaza after an Israeli sniper shot dead 2 women, an elderly woman and her adult daughter who had tried to save her mother at a Catholic church in Gaza City where they had sought refuge. It was the Holy Family Parish Church. Politico reports Israel recently attacked a church and a convent in Gaza, even though congressional staffers in Washington had urged Israel to protect the religious sites and gave them the coordinates of the churches. We go now to Bethlehem, where we're joined by the Reverend Mitri Rahed. He's president of Dar al-Kalima University in Bethlehem, Palestinian Christian theologian who's authored many books, including Decolonizing Palestine, the Land, the People, the Bible. It's hard to say Merry Christmas to you, Reverend Professor Dr. Mitri Rahab, but I will ask you how you're observing Christmas this year. Talk about Bethlehem.
You know, it's a very sad Christmas. I don't think in my entire life I experienced so much sadness, but also so much anger about what's happening in Gaza. As you said, the celebration, the festivities were canceled in Bethlehem. So you don't have Christmas lights, you don't have Christmas tree in Bethlehem. There are no tourists coming because of the war. And the people are not up for celebrations because our people in Gaza, but not only our people in Gaza, also our people in the West Bank. We here in the West Bank, we experiencing apartheid, colonization by Jewish settlers, and the death tolls, as you said, 20,000 in Gaza, but also even in the West Bank in the hundreds. And also the detainees, Palestinian detainees, within these 75 days in the West Bank are over 3,000.
You have said that the story of Christmas, the story of the birth of Jesus, is more relevant now than ever, even though you will not be having festivities around this.
Correct, because the Christmas story actually is the Palestinian story par excellence. It talks about a family in Nazareth in the north of Palestine that is ordered by an imperial decree of the Romans to evacuate to Bethlehem, to go there and register. And this is exactly what our people in Gaza has been experiencing these 75 days. It talks about Mary, the pregnant woman, on the run, exactly like 50,000 women in Gaza who are actually displaced. Jesus was born actually as a refugee. There was no place at the inn for him to be born. So he was put in a manger. And this is exactly what also the kids that are coming to life these days in Gaza are experiencing. Most of the hospitals are damaged, out of service, and so there is no delivery places for all of these pregnant women in Gaza. And then you have the bloodthirsty Herod that ordered to kill the kids in Bethlehem to stay in power. And in Gaza, over 8,000 kids, they have been murdered for Netanyahu to stay in power. And you have this message that the angels declared here, glory to God in the highest, peace on earth, which was actually a critique of the empire, because glory belongs to the Almighty and not to the mighty. And the peace that Jesus came to proclaim is not the peace, the Pax Romana, the peace that is based on subjugation and military oppression, but on human dignity, equality, and justice. And this is actually what we call for. And I have to say, I find it really a shame that that in this season, where every church hears these words, peace on earth, that the United States is vetoing even a ceasefire. It's a shame.
I wanted to ask you about this report in Politico. Congressional staff tried to protect Gazan churches by sending locations to Israel. That's the headline. Now, you're in Bethlehem in the occupied West Bank, and this is about Gaza. The Israeli military received and confirmed the coordinates of the church and covenant in Gaza, both of which aid groups say were later struck by rockets and snipers. It goes on to say the Holy Family Church in Gaza was struck last weekend. The location of the church was included on a list of coordinates provided to the Israeli military by aid organizations and staffers on Capitol Hill in an effort to protect those sheltering there. We reported in the last few days, among others, about the mom, the elderly mother and her daughter, who were sheltering at the Holy Family Church. This is what the Pope referred to when he talked about Israel engaging in terrorism. First, the mom was hit, the daughter carries her, and then she's hit. This is Pope Francis speaking on his 87th birthday at the Vatican Sunday.
Yes.
And let us not forget our brothers and sisters suffering from war in Ukraine, Palestine, Israel, and other conflict zones. May the approach of Christmas strengthen our commitment to open paths of peace. I continue to receive from Gaza very serious and painful news. Unarmed civilians are being bombed and shot at. And this has even happened inside the Holy Family Parish compound, where there are no terrorists, but families, children, and sick people with disabilities and nuns. A mother and her daughter, Miss Nahida Khalil Antan, and her daughter Samar Kamal Antan, were killed and others wounded by the snipers as they went to the bathroom. The house of Mother Teresa's nuns was damaged. Their generator hit. Some say it's terrorism. It's war. Yes, it's war. It's terrorism. That is why scripture says that God stops war, breaks bows, and breaks spears. Let us pray to the Lord for peace.
So that's the Pope speaking on his 87th birthday. I want to go on with this Politico piece. It says a church and a convent were struck in Gaza, listed among Christian facilities. Congressional staffers had flagged to Israeli authorities for protection, according to a series of emails from October. The emails, which were obtained by Politico, show an increasingly frenzied back and forth between Catholic Relief Services, one of the largest Christian aid organizations in Gaza, and Senate staff over an effort to get a commitment from Israel to avoid targeting a number of buildings where its staff and civilians were sheltering. They would ultimately be attacked. Reverend Mitri Raheb, your response.
You know, Israel have been attacking churches, mosques, hospitals, schools, universities. Believe it or not, 11 universities were destroyed in this war. Over 200 schools were destroyed. Most of the hospitals, except 9, are out of service right now because of Israeli attacks on them. But let's come to the churches. You know, this is not the first attack that happened last Saturday that the Pope talked about, because the first attack on a Christian institutions happened to the Ahli Hospital, the so-called Baptist hospitals that belong actually to the Anglican Church. And then Israel had an airstrike on the Greek Orthodox Church, Saint Porphyrius, where they destroyed fully the assembly hall of that church, where 50 Christians were having refuge, 20 were killed, and 14 were injured. And then Israel destroyed a brand new state-of-the-art Arab Orthodox cultural and social center. It costed $6 million. It was inaugurated just a few months ago, and it was made to rubbles. It doesn't exist anymore. You cannot see it anymore. And then Israel attacked the Rosary Sister, another Catholic school. This last week they attacked, and the Pope spoke about it, actually a rehabilitation center for children with disability that is run by the Sisters of Mother Teresa. And they attacked again last week the Ahli Hospital that is now almost out of service, beside the sniper killing these the older woman with her daughter within the Holy Family compound. And you know what? When some other parishioners in that compound wanted to go out to help them and to save them, Israel launched a missile on them, and 10 people from that parish were injured in that missile attack. I'm on daily basis in contact with those two parishes to see how they are doing. And I tell you, just a few hours ago, I received again another cry for help that compound, the Holy Family compound, is surrounded by Israeli tanks, and Israeli snipers are all around on the rooftops of the neighboring buildings. And this is just 2 days before Christmas. These are the Christmas gifts of Israel for the Christian community in Gaza. And I fear that this is the end of the Christian presence in Gaza. And you know, the Christian presence in Gaza is a 2,000 years old presence. I mean, these are not new converts. Christianity came to Gaza already in the 1st century. And throughout the last 20 centuries, there was a living Christian work there, and actually an affluent Christian community in Gaza. And I think this community is going to be extinct because of Israel war on Gaza. 3% of the Christian community in Gaza was murdered in these 75 days. 3%.
I wanted to play for you, and we played this earlier in the week, the deputy mayor of Jerusalem, Fleur Hassan Nahum, recently appearing on British news program LBC and claiming, in fact, there are no Christians in Gaza.
Why is it necessary, it is reported, to start shooting, having snipers outside of church?
I saw the reports this morning. There are no churches in Gaza, so I'm not quite sure where the report is talking about.
There's a Catholic church in there, isn't there, that is...
Unfortunately, there are no Christians because they were driven out by...
Respectfully, there are Christians, because I spoke to an MP yesterday who has family members in the church who are Christians.
Well, I don't know.
So that's the Jerusalem deputy mayor, Fleur Hassan Nahum, speaking on the British news program LBC. Your response, Reverend?
You know, I mean, we are unfortunately used to Israeli lies and fake news that they keep spreading. You know, how they cannot know that there are a Christian community in Gaza. I mean, you spoke before that they got the coordinate of the two churches, like they get also the coordinate of the hospitals. Remember, these Christians every year were applying for permits to come over Christmas to Bethlehem. So the Israeli authorities, they know everyone by name, by picture, by age, by gender. Again, but these are the lies. And you know why Israel can do all of this? Because they are impunity. Nobody, because of the American veto, brings them actually and make them responsible for what they are doing. And now they actually are destroying all of Gaza. And guess who will pay for it? They will call some Arab countries or Europe or others to rebuild Gaza. Once Israel is made responsible for its atrocities, they will stop doing that. For me as a pastor, I have to say, you know, imagine if a synagogue was attacked and 20 Jewish worshippers in a synagogue were killed by an airstrike by any country. The whole Christian world will be in uproar. Unfortunately, we don't hear the Christian community actually doing much about the atrocity happening in Gaza today.
Reverend Rahab, I wanted to ask you about your latest book, Decolonizing Palestine, which challenges the weaponization of biblical texts to support the current settler colonial state of Israel. That's how it's described. And I was wondering if you could comment on some of the most adamant supporters of the Israeli military are US evangelicals. And some of the fiercest critics are progressive Jews like Jewish Voice for Peace. And if you could comment on both.
Yes, actually in this book, I try to show that actually the current state of Israel in its occupation of the West Bank and Gaza is actually a settler colonial project. And a settler colonial project means these are settlers that they come, in this case, from Europe mainly, to settle permanently in another country, not to live with the native people, but to replace the native people and to drive them out of their own country. And to do that, they have to create a policing state, and they have to demonize the native people as savage, as terrorists, as backwards, as human animals, as we are hearing from Israeli politicians right now. And actually, if you heard Netanyahu when he said that the Israeli troops are entering Gaza that same day in October, late October, he quoted the Bible and talked about Amalek. And that is from 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 3, where God is telling Saul to go and extend the whole Amalek community, not to spare man, woman, elderly, child, even ox and sheep. And so this is a call for genocide. And this is, again, a settler colonial tool that was done in North America, it was done in South Africa, it was done in many other countries. So what happened in the United States 400 years ago to the Native Americans is happening to Palestinians today in Gaza. So this is what I'm talking about. And this weaponizing of the Bible by Christian Zionists is something that is for us very troublesome. You know, for us, these Christian Zionists are actually anti-Semite because they don't love the Jewish people. They want all Jews to come to Palestine. According to their ideology, that 2/3 will be killed in a war and the last third will convert to Christianity. So basically, they are calling for the annihilation of the Jewish people, but Netanyahu has no problem to share bed with them, not out of love, but to fulfill selfish desires, so to say. And I'm so glad that actually Netanyahu doesn't represent the whole Jewish people. You know, Judaism is very broad, like Christianity and Islam. It's a very broad religion. You have from the far right to the far left. And for me, groups like Jewish Voices for Peace, not in my names, and many other groups that I'm in contact with them, they are a sign of hope that actually together as Jews, Muslims, and Christians who are interested in equality, in human dignity, and justice, so that both peoples can share the land and the three religions can live side by side. I think this is the vision that we are calling for.
Reverend Mitri Rahab, we want to thank you for being with us. Reverend Mitri Rahab is the president of Dar al-Khalima University in Bethlehem, Palestinian Christian theologian, who's authored many books, including Decolonizing Palestine, the Land, the People, the Bible. Democracy Now! Is funded by viewers like you. Please give today at democracynow.org/give. This news is funded by viewers like you.
Well, how wonderful that was. I'm hope that you were able to hear that interview. I'm going to save this link that play it back, because I think that this is an extremely important video. And I want to watch it again. There was some information there that I didn't realize, because I've gotten so depressed I can't watch Al Jazeera all the time. So I missed some of the instructions that some of the surgery stuff. So horrible. So, hi, Avi, welcome. And I'm so glad that the Palestinian theologian talked about the diversity within Judaism, because I've been talking about this for years, that all the Jews in the world are going to get blamed for what Israel is doing. And so the fact that we have voices like that and having the place for etc., and our human rights is very important, because anti-Semitism is always lurking, and lurking around, and we want to avoid blaming all Jews in the world for what Israel is doing, because we certainly know that they are not responsible, and most of my Jewish friends are totally against what I've done. But then the other night, and he said Israel is a fascist military state. That's it. So we will continue with one more short interview, again from the pastor in Bethlehem. And let me see if I can share the screen. I think the share screen didn't work the last time. I have a feeling they're kind of censoring the sharing of the screen. Let me see if I can get it. Let's see, it says now not sharing the screen. Oh, it's page down. Maybe that'll get better. Okay, good. All right, so let's listen to this video from yeah, yeah. So talking about how Christians and that so let's go to the beginning of the video.
The churches in the Holy Land actually decided to cancel Christmas because of what's happening in Gaza.
Meet Reverend Dr. Mitri Raheb, the most widely published Palestinian theologian in the world.
They said we are not up for celebration, seeing these images coming out of Gaza.
In just 2.5 months, Israel has killed more than 20,000 Palestinians in Gaza, close to half of them children. Israel has committed countless atrocities, including shooting and killing a mother and daughter who were taking shelter in a Catholic church and bombing a Greek Orthodox church in Gaza.
And so the Christian community in Palestine goes back to the first Christian. So the roots of my family are that good here in Bethlehem, my family. And the same is true for Gaza. Christianity was started in Gaza in the first century.
Instead of celebrating Christmas in the birthplace of Jesus, Palestinian Christians are in mourning this year because of what Palestinians are living through in Gaza.
It's not an act of solidarity because it's celebrate Christmas in terms of all the glamour and the lights, and because Christmas became so much commercialized and actually lost its original message. Celebrating Christmas does not mean that we are not giving attention to the Christmas story. Actually, on the contrary, because the Christmas story, as we read it in the Bible, is a Palestinian story per excellence. Because it talks about a Palestinian Jewish family from the north, from Nazareth, whose order by the empire of that time, the Romans, to evacuate the north and to go to the south, to Bethlehem.
This Christmas, Palestinians are shedding light on the Christmas story and the ways it mirrors Israel's oppression of Palestinians in Gaza.
So the story of Mary, the pregnant woman, is the story of 50,000 pregnant women in Gaza who are on the run. They are in labor, but they have to find refuge. And, you know, they can go outside in the tent, whatsoever. And so this is born as a refugee, like all these kids that are born today in Gaza, you know, tents.
Palestinians deserve to live in peace and freedom from Israel's war crimes on Christmas. And always, it's past time for a permanent ceasefire.
The churches in the Holy Land actually decided to cancel Christmas because of what's happened.
Thank you for being with me today. Certainly are living in terrible times, and I know my own heart is broken, and it's very hard for me to tell them how I feel. I know a huge voice would be sent out a message that they stopped 8 bridges, they blocked 8 bridges for the 8 days of Hanukkah. And then one of my closest Jewish friends, his background, but then Christian, told me she would talk about Gaza again. So it's heartbreaking for me and for many of us dealing with our friends and family, where we lost friends and family. Silence. I lost my job, so we're in theater work. And with fans and the black and white of theater, but I was telling people. But I mean, it's just a time situation. So let's listen to some beautiful song or Holy Night from Nazareth. It's both from Hebrew, Arabic, and Christian. And Mumkin, Salam, Salam Mumkin, peace is possible. I don't know how to say it in Hebrew, but I can say it in Arabic. I could actually read it now. So, Salam Mumkin, peace is possible.
unto us a child is born, for unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. On behalf of all of us at One for Israel, I pray you will set your eyes to heaven to behold the Messiah's beauty and majesty. God's redemption.
Okay, we don't want to have proselytizing, but we are grateful for this beautiful music. So I thank you for joining. It's when we're watching these painful news of this genocide that I never thought I would ever live to see something like this in my lifetime, and I'm totally overwhelmed with despair and depression, and I feel paralyzed. I don't know what to do. I feel helpless to do anything. I wasn't even going to do this morning, but I felt I had to do something. I saw those articles on electronic intifada. They were really wonderful and painful, but important. Sometimes it's hard to find out the facts, but we must know what's going on. We can't hide from the news and from the truth and from the reality. So we ask God, Allah, to guide us in what we can do, what our path is now at this historic point in history. People will ask, where were you in 2023 during the genocide? What did you do? How did you help? So these are the questions that we ask ourselves. What can we do? We can write letters, we can sign petitions, we can make donations, and most importantly, we can pray. Send out cosmic vibrations of peace. And this is what we yearn for, is peace. Salam, shalom. So I wish you all peace. And that, remember that the words I was able to actually read in Arabic, I was very proud of myself. Shalom mumkin shalom. Peace is possible. So I wish you all a wonderful holiday season. And we may be changing the time of these sessions because I'm actually going to be teaching on Saturdays now, but I probably won't have students at noon, so we may be able to still keep it at Saturday at noon, but I will let you know. I will post it. And I'm sorry for the screw up on Facebook. Hi, Isa. So good to see you, brother Isa. And shalom, salam, peace to everybody. And just remember, God has a plan. And the good thing that's come out of all of this is that so many more people in the world know about the Palestinian situation and know the truth about Palestine, and what the occupation is like, and what the fascist military Israeli government is doing right now. So now it's all over the world, and unfortunately, this had to happen with the blood of 20,000 martyrs, men, women, children, mostly women and children. So despite this grief that we're experiencing, we have to have a blind hope and trust in the cosmos, in the goodness of the universe that created this planet so perfectly that we could exist here with every beautiful detail worked out perfectly so that the planet Earth exists and we exist on it. So let's be hopeful that God's plan will succeed and light will conquer darkness, and we will have peace on earth, goodwill to men. Assalamu. Thank you for joining. Bye, Isa.